Hey guys, welcome back to Devious Devices. Today we're going to start working on Globule number 3. And to get started on that, I made a new map, a new world save file, and I went into MCEdit and I deleted all the chunks. So we have a blank canvas, more or less. The only block in the whole map right now is that little dirt block down there, which is just a little place marker for 0, 0. But other than that, we got a total blank canvas, and we're going to do a little work. I have a number of ideas about possible gameplay mechanics we can do and different things like that, which we'll probably get into maybe next video. But for today, I just want to start sketching out a starting area just to sort of get the creative juices flowing. So to do that, let's head over into MCEdit and do a little building. Okay, so this is MCEdit. And I don't intend for this video or future videos to really be MCEdit tutorials, but just so you can follow the kind of things I'm doing, I'll go over quickly what the different buttons do. So you've got a selection bar here, kind of similar to your toolbar in Minecraft, and you select them either with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And we'll go over quickly what they do. If you hit 1, you get this select toolbar, and you can select things, you can drag, and you can grab a face of that selection to move it like this, to change how much you want to have selected. You move around the map with WASD, moves you left, right, forward, and back, and then Q and Z moves you up and down. You can also change your selection bar with these nudge tools. So how these work is when you're holding down your left mouse button and clicking one, your WASD now controls that blue box that you see down there, right here. Oops, sorry. So you can move that back and forth. If you hold down the yellow one, you move that back and forth. And then if you hit the green one, yellow plus blue as colors equals green, right? So if you hold that one down, whoops. Oh no, for this, I'm sorry. For this one, you actually want gray. So if you hold down, the green one copies. If you hold down gray, you can move the whole thing back and forth. And with Q and Z, you move it up and down. Or if you hold down Shift, it'll move more. So it'll move a whole chunk at a time. And you can also do that with the individual controls. And then there's always these. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is a series of brushes, which you can either do fill, you can do replace, you can erode, topsoil, paste. We'll be using these pretty heavily. You can change the material. And just to get started, here's our little dirt block we started with. Using your scroll mouse, you can change the height. You can change the size of them. So let's just fiddle with that. Let's make it about that sized. And let's put it right here, like that, and left clicking will place it. Then we'll select our dirt block, hit delete, hit Control D to deselect, and now it's gone. Okay, this little thing right here, this is the character. This is me. This is where I left the game from. And then the other thing is that's on the map right now is this. This is the spawn point. So let's see, number 3, you have to have something selected to use it, but you can use it to copy things. Normally I just use Control C and Control V like you're using text. So you see how I have that selected, and then this comes up, and you can paste that around, and if you hit enter, it'll copy it there. So that's that one, but you can also do it just by selecting something, hitting Control C, and it'll bring it up here. And then you can hit Control V, and it'll do the same thing. And that's the way I tend to use it. I find that a little bit more, it's a little quicker and a little more intuitive. Then if you also have something selected, you can do fill and replace. So if we want to change that selection from dirt, dirt, and then replace it with stone, and hit enter. Now that section is stone, right? And that has a number of uses. Then we can also do 5. The 5th is a filter, and you can do a number of things like you can ban slimes from chunks. You can add potion effects to mobs. You can do a lot of things. Probably the one you might use the most, maybe, is a forester. And let's just use the default setting. See what happens. This may take a little while. Let's see what it does. Or I may not have enough. Let me extend that. Okay, filter. Okay, now the chunks turn red when it is saving information. Let's see what it did. Apparently it didn't do anything. Maybe I did something wrong. But there are a number of different filters you can use. Then you can import. You can import schematics. Like this is an ender crystal. Right there. And it looks kind of funky because there's several of them stacked up on top of each other. Then you can do things like you can go to the player's position or you can move them. You can move a person there. Hit enter. And you can also move the spawn point. So let's put the spawn point on top of that little sphere. And then there's chunk control. So you can select chunks and you can delete the chunks. You can fill them with air, which is what I did to get all of this space. And you can also prune them to get rid of them. Or you can relight them. All kinds of things. So let me get rid of... actually, let me go back to this. Let me get rid of that. Save it. Why did you not delete? Did I not select the whole thing? And if you right-click, this is another thing. If you right-click your mouse, it'll change from having a free-floating mouse to moving the camera with your view. So that's kind of important for maneuvering around to realize you can go quickly back and forth between those two options. Or if you hold down the right mouse, it'll just keep it in that mode. Okay, and let's get rid of this guy too. So, I want to spend a little time just fiddling around with some starting areas. Let's delete this, I don't need that. I want to spend some time fiddling around with starting areas. Why is this still here? Is that player? Let's move player too. Oh, that's why. So, okay. Do a quick save. I want to play around with some starting areas. And in Globule 2, you started out on an island and everything was made up with islands. And Globule 3 is not going to have a lot of little islands floating all over the place. It will not require a lot of bridging because I think that may get... It's definitely tedious. It can be occasionally fun if you feel like making bridges, but what if you don't? It might get boring. So let's just make a starting island. Now, I do kind of like the idea from that second map of making you start on this little island and survive there for a little while. And then after a while, you can bridge. And, you know, while you're stuck on this little island, you have all this cool stuff to look at. It's kind of like I'm teasing you a little bit, like, oh man, I can't wait to go explore this stuff. I'm stuck on this little island trying to survive, but once I'm off, I'm going to get to look at all this cool stuff. So I think I'm sort of two minds right now. So you're either going to be able to explore immediately, or I'm going to start you off on an island about this size and make you live there for a while, and then surround it with, let's change this to a different shape, and then surround it with cool stuff to go look at later. So let's see, let's make this pretty tall. Let's make this maybe like 120, something like that. But in general, I don't want there to be a lot of floating stuff that you have to bridge to get to. Now, there may be some slightly floating things, you know, when I think it looks cool or is important or thematic or whatever. But for the most part, I don't really want to do that. Now, one of the challenges of starting an area like this is that because of the way I'm going to be designing the map, where all of the different blocks are separated and you have to explore to get to stone, and then you have to explore to get to iron, etc. You can also drag, by the way. You see how it does this? We'll just make a ring. This will actually make it look a little nicer. little bit more organic if we just do it like this. There. So one of the challenges is if the starting area is only dirt, and the camera is sort of zooming off to the side for some reason. If the starting area is only dirt, how do we really design an area like that? It's hard to design a unique biome when you only... Okay, stop moving. Thank you. It's hard to design a unique biome with just the one block. I even thought about having a big cube of dirt and making it look like the dirt block, like a giant dirt block. I think that's kind of gimmicky though, and it's I think we can maybe do some things that are more interesting. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's just go ahead and save this. Let's go back into the game and see what it looks like in game. Okay, so this is what it looks like in game. First little sketch of an idea: floating islands surrounded by cliffs. And I like to switch back and forth between MCEdit and in-game because it always looks totally different looking at it in-game. One thing I'm noticing immediately is that the game is having trouble loading everything in. So if I'm standing on this side of the island, see how the chunks over there are unloading, which tells me that they're too far away. So one thing we need to do, we need to make them closer. Another thing we need to do is we need to start sort of teasing the player that there's more areas beyond here. So I'm thinking we need holes in these walls and maybe some caves or tunnels or something like that. And of course we need to erode these and make them look more natural. But other than that, I think we can head back to MCEdit and maybe do a little bit more work. Okay, so I added some more cliffs to make it a little closer, and then I checked it in game again to make sure that they were about the right distance. I think the distance right now is about 40 blocks, which isn't too long to bridge. And it's close enough to see everything, all the different walls. So what I want to do now is to start carving them up, start making them look kind of cool, add some cliffs, add some caves of some kind or another. So I made a dirt sphere that's a little smaller. So let's just make some ledges of some kind. And maybe even that brush may be a little too big. Let's make it smaller. Maybe down to 15 maybe. And I'm just sketching. I'm just doing things at random. Trying to get the creative juices flowing. And you have to save it, and then it will relight the chunks. And sometimes this can get kind of time consuming, depending on how much information is changed. Having a lot of RAM in your computer is good. But basically I just want to add some ledges. And then after we get a few of these guys on here, we'll start carving in some holes. I'd like it to be where you're looking off these cliffs and you can sort of see down into some of these caves and maybe a little bit around the corner. Maybe there's some light on the other side of the tunnel, but you can't really tell what's next. It's supposed to be like a, ooh, come explore me type of thing. What I've done now is I've changed the brush to make air blocks. So this is a really handy way to carve out caves and formations and things. And I'm just playing around with the brushes at this point. I don't have a specific idea in mind. And just continue to do basically subtraction and then more addition and then more subtraction until we have something that just starts to look cool, basically. Sometimes I come in with ideas of a specific shape or like if I'm trying to replicate a certain geographical feature like a canyon or a mountain or something. But for right now, I just want to carve up these flat surfaces. And if you want to do something that looks a little bit more organic, you can always drag it so you don't have these sphere shapes everywhere. So let's say if we're up here, maybe there would be a big cave under here. And now maybe that's even a little too big. So this is one of the things where going into the game to see what that actually looks like could be handy. Maybe there'd be glowstone on the walls right beyond that corner. And then if you come down here, maybe that cave would go off that way. And all of these vertical, these columns right here, I don't know what these exactly signify. These guys over here, they've been like that since I deleted the chunks. It means something. I just don't know what. But basically, I think we can just ignore them for right now. Okay, and then maybe there's some overhangs under there. So I'm going to do a little bit of work here, and then we'll look at it in game. So this is what it looks like now. It's kind of a disaster area in a lot of ways. I decided to show this middle step instead of just jumping right to the refined or semi-refined final version, at least for this video. I'll call this the second draft, where the first draft was just the vertical walls. So I've just been basically carving around, and now I just want to see what looks good and what sort of doesn't look good. I carved up this island a little bit too. I kind of like the way the island is starting to look. And I like the way some of these cliffs are looking, and some of them just look bad. Like all of this looks like a wasteland. That needs to be either deleted or remade or something, or reshaped. Some of these cliffs look a little bit too close. So we get the coordinates out. That is like 30 blocks or so away. Probably a little too close. I want it to be maybe 40-ish, so we need to trim that. Let's look around the outside. And basically, I want to sort of see what shapes are looking good. And then we'll go back to MCEdit, and we'll try to give more of an overall style. One of the dangers of making a big area like this and just starting to carve into it is you end up with too many different ideas. You got ledges, you got cliffs, you got tunnels, you got overhangs. You've got big, like, blobby things on top. And it all just becomes confusing. And what I want to do is kind of see what looks the best and then sort of base the entire area on that idea. And I think what I'm liking are these ledges that sort of go above and beyond, or above and below each other, and then you've got these sort of zigzag cliffs like this. I think that is the best look. And don't be surprised if I completely delete everything we do today and start over once I get a better idea of what's going to look cool. So, yes, I think the ledges moving up and down looks the best. Let's head back to MCEdit. So, in the end, I did decide to just start over from scratch. Now that I kind of have an idea of the form I'm going for, I decided it would be easier to build it from scratch with a sort of consistent brush shapes instead of trying to repair the chaos of what I created. So here's the new starting area. We'll call this draft number 3. Oh, did I generate new chunks here? We've got flatland. I must have. I'll just delete that later. This is a flatland map I'm editing. So we've got this sort of spire spike thing where you start out with 3 terraces. And I've laid out some guidelines here. What I did is I looked at it top down and I measured out 5 chunks from the edge. And then I just, I did one for each side, and then I sort of just sketched in a circle. So that is going to be a guideline. And I'm going to make a sort of a wall around the edge, and I'm using a rounded shape this time, so we don't have to worry about rounding off all those sharp edges. Probably should have started with that, but oh well. So I'm going to use this, and because there's nothing there, it's going to be snapping to the bottom of the world, basically. Draw more or less a consistent circle, and then we're going to add cliff edges to the top, or rather cliff edges to the inside, cliff edges to the outside, and then we're going to poke some holes so that you can see through this wall. So here's what draft number 3 looks like with some cliffs added on the inside. I took a kind of a plate-shaped brush and dragged it along these walls to create all these cliffs, and then the ones on the outside are a little bit deeper, so they stick out a little farther. I think the direction we're going in is pretty cool. Now, it occurs to me that, you know, as a starting area where you only have dirt, this may not be much of a, I don't know, it may not embody the nature of dirt very well, and I may end up using this this thing we're creating for a different area, maybe for stone or something like that. But I'm going to keep going anyway, because I think we're on a good track. Next thing I want to do is I want to start poking some holes in these cliffs. So basically, let's just see how far in that goes. And, oops, that is stone. Let's use air. There. Yeah, I wanted to see if it would poke all the way through, and I don't like that I don't like that it took away some of my ledge, so let's make it a little shorter. And start to add some more dimensionality to these cliff ledges. Let's add another one here. And this looks a lot cleaner because I've only used a few brushes for the whole thing. So it looks a lot nicer than what we did before. So I think it was definitely worth it to start over. Okay, so basically I'm going to do this on either side. Try to carve it out nicely and smoothly, and then we'll look at it in game. And I guess we will call this draft number 4. It still needs a lot of work, but it's definitely getting there. It's a vast improvement over that first attempt. And it does occur to me that this doesn't really feel like a dirt area. It feels more like something like stone maybe, or maybe even sand. Nah, maybe not sandstone, but definitely not dirt. So this may not end up being the starting area after all. Maybe there will be like a dungeon in the middle here. You'll get your stone from this area, and then if you want some bonus loot, there'll be a dungeon. But we'll talk more about the overall layout and the inclusion of dungeons next time. The kind of openings I'm looking for are just like this. Those sort of cross-sections that happen when you carve out a semi-spherical or ovoid shape on one side and the other. Is it getting dark? Let's brighten it up. That one's good too. These are not good. Those look too messy. We'll have to clean those up. That one's good. That one's okay. That one's good. And it's sort of, if you're in here in the middle, it sort of hints that, oh, there's something on the other side. Maybe I should go explore that. Let's look at what it looks like on the other side really quick. And there's no details really. It's really just a rough sketch. This took me about 4 hours to get to this point from the very beginning when I started working today on that very beginning in the video. And I'm sure I'll get quicker as I get more in the habit of it. And in future videos, I'll explore other map making programs and tools. But let me know what you think about this series and about ideas for the map and things to do in videos. Of course, I don't want to spoil too much of the visuals in a game where exploration is a major component. So at some point, we're going to have to only show maybe some hints or just talk about gameplay elements or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Have a good day. Bye-bye.